Hi, this is Hector Garcia, CPA and Advanced QuickBooks Pro Advisor, and I'm going to show you a new feature in QuickBooks Online called Price Rules. Now, this video was shot in November of 2017, so this will be version 1 or the beta version that was made out to the public. So let's start by clicking on the gear menu on the top right of the screen, click on Account and Settings, and then click on Sales on the left hand side of the screen, and then we're going to click anywhere, any blank space where it says Products and Services, and make sure that we have that little check mark for Turn on Price Rules on, and then we click on Save and then Done. So that we should turn on your price rules, and as I said, this is version 1 or the beta that was made public, so I'm pretty sure it's going to be missing some things. We'll see as we kind of progress with this process. So let's click on the gear menu on the top right of the screen, and then click on Products and Services, and then we're going to click on the little more buttons hidden in there, more, and then we're going to click on Price Rules. Now, why did they hide it in there? I have no idea. Honestly, I think that Price Rules should be its own button separate by itself, but in this version it's hidden under the more button. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and click on Create Rule, and then let me just explain what this screen is. On the top left of the screen, you have to give each rule a name. A rule could be for all customers, it could be for a selected group of customers, it could be for all products, it could be for a selected group of products, or it could be a combination of both. Now, what's really cool about the Price Rules feature is that you can also set up a start and expiration date, so you can do seasonal promotions as well. Let's start with a simple rule called 10% off, and we're just going to simplify this and call it 10% off, and we're just going to give all products a 10% discount expiring on December 31st of the year. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and give it to all customers, and then we're going to select all products and services. That way, this is a simple price rule in which we're going to reduce the current sales amount by a percentage, and we're going to decrease it by 10%, and then we won't do any rounding, and then we'll go ahead and click on Apply. And then you'll notice that the minute I click on Apply, every one of the prices or the products that have prices on the table now get adjusted and they get reduced by that 10%. Now, if you don't have a price on the product, so if the price was 0, then nothing happens. Basically, it just becomes the same $0 amount. Now, that could change if instead of doing a percentage, you would choose something like fixed amount or custom price per item. Then at that point, it's not going to multiply it by a percentage anymore. It's just going to use a fixed amount. So let's go ahead and keep this one like this, and then we'll click Save and Close on the bottom right, and that will save the rule. So we got one rule there called 10% off, and that's it. Let me go ahead and create another price rule. I'm going to click on New Price Rule, and then we're going to call this one $20 off. Okay, so I'll put a dollar sign, $20 off, and this one's going to expire, let's say, January 31st of next year. So let's expire that one on January 31st of next year. And then also we'll do all customers, all products and services. And instead of choosing percentage, we're going to do a fixed amount, and then we're going to click decrease by $20. And just to play with it, we're going to go ahead and round this up by 99 cents, and then click on Apply. And then you will notice that on every one of these prices, they're going to be reduced by $20, and it's going to add a couple of cents to it to round up to that 99 cents. Let me go ahead and click on Save and New this time. And then I'm going to create a new rule called Wholesale. Now, this one's going to be interesting because for this particular rule, I'm not going to set up an expiration date, and I'm going to select a selected group of customers in which the price rule applies to. So I'm going to click on, instead of all customers, I'm going to actually click on Select Individually. And then once I click on Select Individually, I'll click on Add Customer, and I'm going to select 3 specific customers. I'm going to pick Duke's Basketball Camp, then I'll click on Add Customer again, and then I'm going to pick Freeman Sporting Goods, Add Customer again, and then we'll pick, let's say, Jeff's Jalopies Let me try a different one. Let's do video games by Dan. Okay, perfect. So we selected 3 customers in which this rule only applies to them. So instead of using a percentage or a fixed amount, I'm going to click on custom price per item, and I'm basically going to create a price table for each of the products that this particular price rule is going to apply to only those 3 customers. So I'm going to click now on products and services, and then I'm going to pick a specific price table for these. So this is going to be $21, and this will be $63, and then we'll put this one at, let's say, $18. Okay, so let's look at these items here: design fountains concrete, design, and landscape installation. So we're gonna experiment with all these prices and the different price rules and see how all this stuff applies at the end. And like I said, we're not gonna do an expiration date on this one. So I'm gonna go ahead and click on save and close. And now I got a total of 3 price rules set up. Now, before I start transacting, let's click on the gear menu again, and let's click on products and services. And I'm gonna click on this. Let me look for this one that I called concrete. So let me do design concrete. So I'm gonna pick this item and click on edit. And this is one of the items that had a whole bunch of different price rules. And what I kind of want you to see is in this screen, this will actually tell you that based on which rule applies, this item would change in price. And you see it there clearly. It says, you know, if the $20 price rule applies, then the item's going to be $30.99. If the 10% price rule applies, this will be $45 flat. And if the wholesale rule applies, this will be $21. And it also tells you all the expiration dates there. So that's actually pretty awesome that you can actually see that at the item level. So we're going to go ahead and click on save and close, and then let's create a transaction. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the quick create button on the top right, and then go to invoice, and then I'm going to pick my first customer here, Amy's Sanctuary. And if you remember, she was not on that 3rd price rule. So I'm going to click on Amy's Sanctuary, and then I'm going to pick, let me close the drawer here on the right hand side, and then I'm going to pick this item called concrete, which is one of the items that had different price rules. And notice the default rate is 50. That's the actual rate on the price table. And then you have a little exclamation mark saying, hey, by the way, potentially you can have different price rules applying to this customer. So when you click on the drop down menu, you actually get to see all the price rules. Now, one of the things I don't like about this is that the wholesale price rule shows on a customer, that's Amy's Bird Sanctuary, which wasn't on the wholesale price list. So I think that if you are going to show this there, I would wish that Intuit would put a little marking or something letting you know that she doesn't apply to that price rule, or just have a setting in which you just turn that off completely. But still, you do get the default rate and the 2 rules that apply, and then the wholesale. I mean, there is that line there, which I assume that line means it doesn't apply. So I take it back. I think that's pretty well displayed in there, but I think it may need to be a little louder just to make sure that a user doesn't select it by mistake, or maybe have an option in which you can turn that off. Anyway, so I'm going to select wholesale, and notice it just let me do it. There's no warning, so that's my criticism right there, but that's okay. So I'm going to click the drop down menu, have the default sales price, there it is, the $20 off, there it is, and the 10% off. So it actually works super smoothly. I'm going to go ahead and click on save and new, and then I'm going to pick a customer that falls into that special price rule in which I gave him the wholesale pricing. So I'm going to click here where it says Duke's basketball camp, and do the same thing, pick the same item that we had, and notice that there's multiple possible price rules. When I click on the drop down, okay, so that confirms the logic here. So that line that was there before was letting me know that was out of the group. So now you get all the options here. Unfortunately, it doesn't automatically pick the best one or the lowest one. It just simply gives you the choice. So I'll click it there on wholesale, and there it is. So let me go ahead and click on save and close. Let's experiment with creating a price rule in which only one customer or only one rule would apply in this case. So let's see what we can come up with. Let me go to price rules, and then I'm going to edit here the 20% off, and then I'm going to do select customers individually, and then just pick, let's say, Amy Sanctuary or Bill's Windsurf. Just picking a few here at random. I don't know why I'm getting an error message saying it can't display it. This may be possibly some sort of bug with the beta. So let me pick it at 10%, and instead of doing all customers, we'll select them individually as well, and then we'll pick, let's say, Freeman Sporting Goods, and click Save and Close. So now the rules would be very strict to a particular group of customers. So let me go back to this 10% where only Freeman applies. So let me just try that one. So let me close that, and then I'll create a new invoice. And again, since there's a new feature, I prefer to just kind of test it, see how it behaves. Let me pick Freeman Sporting Goods, and then I'll pick an item that we've been working with. And in this case, it gives me all the options. Let me go back, close that. And I'm not editing this video on purpose. I just want to go through all the iterations and the errors and stuff like that, just because this just came out, and I prefer to just show you all the possible mishaps that can happen. So I'm making all these price rules inactive. I'm going to create a new price rule. Let me call it new 15% discount. I'm going to pick a particular group of customers. Let's say if it lets me add it now, let me do Amy's. For some reason, so let me do Amy's. Let me do Cool Cars. And for this one, I'm going to do a percentage, decrease by 15%. And we'll round this one to 88 cents just to kind of play with it. And then click on Apply. And then let's do an expiration date to November 30th. So let's remember that so we can play with the expiration dates. Then we'll click on Save and Close. And that's my only active one there, so that's good. So let me now create, let me see, make sure that the customer I had picked was Cool Cars. Okay, perfect. So let me go to new transaction, new invoice, and then we'll pick here Cool Cars. Perfect. Then we'll pick up the item, concrete. Okay, that's exactly what I wanted to see. I wanted to see that now there's no warning because only one price rule applies. So that's actually pretty neat. That it still gives me the choice of picking the default sales rate. That's nice. But then the rates there. Now, something that would be nice, it would be kind of cool to have, is a column that would have the original price there, and give the user the choice of whether or not they'll show the customer, because then sometimes that's relevant to show the customer what the original price is. Unfortunately, right now, if I wanted to show that, I would have to add it to the description and add something like original price is $50 or something like that. So unfortunately, if I wanted to kind of show the customer that I'm modifying the price, not as a separate discount item, but as a price modification, I can't show them the original price unless I add it in this specific description. So I think it would be really nice to have that in there, or have that label, in which what price rule applies. It would be kind of cool to have it. I don't know, maybe some other way that's not, that I have to actually click on it. It would be also nice to see the cost of the product. That way, you're not inadvertently, by modifying the price, potentially selling it under cost. So it would be good to have that cost there as a reference when creating an invoice. But again, I can only hope for them to add new features to it, but we're kind of exploring them as it goes. So we're going to click on Save and Close, and there we go. So I actually really like that, but I want to experiment one more thing, because that discount expired on November 30th. So let's see what happens if I pull that same transaction, and I'm going to date this one forward. So let me date this one to maybe December 5th. Oh, look at that. That's awesome. The price automatically goes up because it no longer applies for a price rule. So if I click the drop down, it shows me that there is a price rule that I can apply, but it's under that long line, letting me know that it doesn't apply. So that actually, I'm really liking this interface. I'm really liking where they're going with this. Now let me click save and close. Now the one thing I was really excited about with price rules was the customer type. So basically with price rules, it came with a new feature called customer type that allows me to group my customers in a particular logical fashion in the customer list. That way I don't have to, if I'm going to create a rule, I don't have to select individually customer by customer which is the one that I want to add. I can just select the customer type and I'll grab that whole group together. So let me click on sales and click on customers, and then I'm going to click on Amy's Sanctuary and edit this customer and show you where customer type is. So customer type is here under additional info, and this is where I believe, oops, let me go back to that window we were in. Let me click on edit again. That's under additional info, but however, it doesn't seem like this is working. Like I'm clicking on the drop down and nothing's happening. So hey, Intuit, what the heck's going on? If you're gonna give me a feature, make sure it's functional. So this is not working, and I can type on it. Let me put new customers, and usually when you tab out of it, QuickBooks gives you a warning saying, hey, would you like to create a new customer type? So that's odd behavior. If I click on save, okay, let's assume that that's saved. So we'll go back to customer details, see if customer type. So it's not saving. So it looks like in this beta they added it as a placeholder, but it's just not working at all. Now, by the time you watch this video, maybe they'll do an update, and if they do an update, I will make sure I'll put a note. So check the description below. I'll put a note saying, hey, there's a new updated video and customer type is working or whatever. So those are pretty much my first impressions about it. One thing I'll tell you, I'm particularly excited about it for a couple reasons. One, we have all three. We have the percentage, we have the fixed amount, and the custom price. So I love having the three. I also love the fact that I can pick and choose which items qualify, and I can pick and choose which customers qualify. That's great. I love the fact that the price drop down shows up on the invoice screen, and I like the fact that they separate the ones that don't qualify in the bottom. I just wish there was a setting in which we can turn that off completely. Now, one thing I thought it was clearly missing here, let me go back into my price rules here. One thing I thought it was clearly missing was a way to decrease or increase a price based on cost. Many a times when I work with customers, they get a particular fixed markup where, hey, we're going to sell at 10% over cost, 20% over cost, and we're not necessarily working from sales price. So unfortunately, the way this feature is now, it only works from a sales price, right? So if you wanted to do something for over cost, you would have to select on custom price per item, and you would have to read all the costs, which I assume that, okay, there is, read all the costs, and you would have to manually come in here. Let's say if this was 20% over cost, I would have to come in here and multiply 10 times 1.2 or something like that, and then add it in here. So unfortunately, it would require a manual process for me to do any markups, and it would be really neat to see Intuit do that. So this is one of the first videos in which I review a feature firsthand, and I criticize it, and I say off the bat what I think it should have and what is missing. Typically, not my videos are like that. My videos are about what works, but now that Intuit is adding things, especially beta, this is like a live beta, I think I'm okay with giving feedback on the videos on the fly. So if you like this video, if you like what you see, if you like the type of review that I did, go ahead and hit like and add some comments below. Tell me what else is missing. We'd love to see your first impressions. What else is missing from price rules? What else would you like to see in price rules in QuickBooks Online? Thank you. Until the next one.